here today with author Kwon Lee, former Artist of the Year, dissident. I don't know exactly how to explain you. You're an interesting guy. I think something interesting. You're just so bold. You always speak your mind unapologetically. Maybe I'm being a little racist here, but you rarely see that with like Asian men. They're just so confident and say what they want and free speech, say what's on your mind. Like, have you always been that way, or what? How'd you get that way?
Absolutely. My main background, I guess what most people know me for is being a practicing painter in this space.
Phenomenal work, by the way, I want to add.
I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, I'm a unique animal in that regard because most of the people in this liberty movement that we're all, fighting for here, we have people who are making documentaries. We have people who are actual fighters like yourself, bringing that energy that's incredibly important. But I don't see many painters, people from the fine arts sphere. And it was interesting how I came to this juncture, but it was just me constantly being basically canceled for seeking the truth over fiscal return. So, that's the strange animal that I am. And I am, you're correct. Like, there's not many Asian people who want to speak up and utilize their voice and be as unapologetic as me. It's because we tend to want to, keep it chill and civil and proper. But sometimes there's a time to fight, and this is clearly a time to fight. So.
Yeah, I didn't mean to start in racial things, but why do you think so many Asian people are quiet? Like, a good example is I lived in San Francisco, and Asians were constantly being attacked and beat up by black people, and the media was like, trying to blame it on like Trump supporters and stuff, and most of the Asians just stayed quiet as they were constantly being attacked. Like, I wonder why they stay.
Well, so there's a saying in Japan, and I'm Korean, but there's a saying in Japan that does actually apply to the sentiment. The saying is that if there's a nail sticking out, hammer it back in. So there's this push of social norms and customs where even when you win in Asian culture, you should win quietly.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't boast. You should just stack your bags. Don't even let anyone know. And there can be an intelligent aspect to that, but the problem with that is that there's a time to push back, and that conditions you to not really want to stand up for what's right in a vocal manner. And that needs to be changed because, these Babylonian people are clearly after Asians next, after the Aryan people. So,
yeah, that's the other thing I noticed. You're an Asian guy that's very spoken, very pro-white, which is, you don't see that very. I think a lot of Asian people actually are pro-white. They just don't speak it.
It's funny because people often say, yeah, you're speaking for white nativism. You're very pro-white. It's even deeper than that. It's not that like I'm not like trying to say, yeah, everyone, let's I'm not saying white power, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying you have a right to be proud of who you are and your identity, regardless of who you are. And I have a universal standard. And when I apply that universal standard onto the world, I'm saying that, Japan and Korea, for example, Japan is 98% Japanese, 98%. On the national broadcast paid by the government, NHK, they'll have their main politicians having a debate about racial demographics. I can't imagine that happening here. Imagine if Kamala and Trump were having a debate about white racial consciousness. That would never happen. But that happens on NHK. South Korea is 90% Korean. And what I notice is that these East Asian countries are maintaining their racial homogeneity, and they're incredibly high IQ, incredibly safe, and they're not afraid to admit that it's because there's so much similarity there. And they do it in such a way that also has a class. They're not like demagogic. You don't feel anger from them. They almost have they don't call it racism. They call it racialism, which is really interesting. It's almost like recognizing, yes, race is real. It doesn't mean we have to castigate each other or attack each other or go into some kinetic civil war. It's almost like these are differences that exist in the races because we've evolved differently with different climates. And that's like, to deny that is delusion to me.
No, I agree. And I spent a lot of time in Japan and fought out there a lot and stuff. And it's very clear, they're going to treat me a little different. That they judge their people first. Something interesting, you probably know the guy. One of my fights in Japan, I fought Akiyama, Olympic gold medalist.
Akiyama.
He lived in Japan, but Korean descent, right? So I was fighting him in Japan, thinking the crowd was going to go crazy for him. They went crazy for me. Now, I don't know if it was because of the white Korean thing or if it was because he was also beating legends like Sakuraba. It was so interesting.
It's probably a little bit both because Japanese fight fans are so passionate.
I couldn't believe they were going for me over the Korean guy. I thought it would be the opposite. But it's like, it was
Yeah,
interesting.
I would say most people that aren't Asian, they can't really tell the difference between Koreans, Japanese, and Chinese until they really hear the pronunciation. But it's like I train one of my judo training partners, black guy.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how South Africans and North Africans, we can't even, we're so different. And I'm like, I would not be able to tell the difference whatsoever. And in that same way, it's like, in East Asian culture, it's very obvious to us. Like I can look at a Japanese, it's actually the facial bone protrusion is different. It's so evident to me that I go, that guy's Chinese, that guy's Korean, that guy's Japanese. So it's more subtle, But that doesn't surprise me.
No, I think a lot of white people are totally naive to all the racial dynamics between the Asian groups. I was in San Francisco, all the Asian groups. There's so much racism between different Asian groups, and I don't know the dynamics in Africa, but the same thing in Africa. They don't look at it as like we're all black. The Asians aren't like we're all Asian. There's like a hierarchy,
The Koreans are the best.
I don't know. The Japanese are pretty badass.
Yeah, actually, you know what? The Japanese, their one claim, and this is the thing they often say whenever there's East Asian relationships, first of all, are not that ideal in regards to like different superiority complex. Like the Koreans think they're better than everyone. The Japanese say we're the purest Asian, which actually technically is true. They're especially during the Mongol Empire when Genghis Khan was like breeding with all these different Asian people. Japan was this island, and Genghis Khan didn't want to go through seafarer that much, so they were staying like that the whole time. So there's truth in that. But the point is that I would say that pretty much the East Asian people. There's a lot of similarity, but the differences are, they make a mountain out of molehills. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Yeah. It's kind of funny, all the dynamics. The people don't realize all the different fighting, and the Chinese, the Japanese.
Not a fan of Chinese culture, though, honestly. I'm not really a fan of a lot of Chinese culture.
I've never been to China, but I hear it's not that fun. Like when you travel around Asia, I didn't realize like everyone hates the Chinese people. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize and they just the open racism against Chinese people when you travel around Asia.
Well, it's just interesting to me because we can say this from a Western perspective. When okay, I have a friend who grew up in a military family, white family. They went to Korea. 5% of Korea is white, and 0.4% of America is Korean. So I'm just laying that out as a number.
I didn't realize there was that many white people in Korea.
Oh yeah, 5% of Korea is white.
Wow.
So when they went to Korea, they all studied Korean, they learned Korean, and they assimilated to the culture and the language. So the Koreans appreciated that. They're like, respect. So when Koreans come here, they learn English, they learn the mannerisms, they learn to assimilate with white culture. And that's as it sort of should be, right?
Yeah.
Chinese people don't do that as often. They do so. I'm not trying to do a wholesale write-off.
In America, Chinese people assimilate after the first generation.
Well, Americanized, yes, but like Koreans, they'll study English if they're gonna come here. Like they're gonna learn the language.
Before they come,
100%. Yeah, like they'll hire tutors.
Yeah,
to teach your
the
family.
first generation Chinese don't. The second generation, because when you get sent in schools here, of course you're gonna assimilate.
Yeah, like you'll hear Chinese people like speaking very in a gallivanted manner. And again, I'm not trying to be racist here, but you'll hear them talk in this manner very openly and shamelessly, and not one part of them goes like, we're talking the loudest in this room in Chinese. Like Koreans would be self-conscious of doing that in like an American restaurant or whatever.
Same with Japanese.
Yeah, the Japanese even more. They'll be like, oh, we're in America and we're the loudest people speaking Japanese. That's it's a strange juxtaposition, but I just don't see that with Chinese people. Anyways, you probably have Chinese listeners. So
yeah, right.
But anyway, we're getting into the minutiae here.
We're speaking broad, but as a whole, the tourists, there's definitely a big difference
They're not
between
the
regular
tourists.
tourists, exactly, than compared to the Korean and Japanese. I would agree on that.
A strange way to start, but yeah.
Anyways, before we switch to art, one more thing. We were talking about this before. Usually I try to talk about things we're going to get into before, but that was interesting. We're talking about how we both have like white nationalist friends and black nationalist friends. We're neither one of us agree with that at all. We think it's kind of stupid, but we're not stupid. We're talking about how we can understand their perspectives of like why they would feel that way. But then the white nationalists get so much hate for it, but like the black nationalists don't, the Asian nationalists don't. It's such a complex issue, but part of it is sometimes these white nationalists approach it in such like a lame, hateful way instead of trying to have these like polite conversations.
Well, what I'll unpack there is that they have a frustration that I sympathize with. I will also say that. I can understand it. That being said, I think all this attempt to normalize this conversation on race realism is totally normalized in Japan even further, but also in Korea. Like people just openly talk about race.
Yeah.
This is not a taboo.
I've traveled the world. That's why I understand. Everyone says America's the most racist place. These people openly talk about all this. Other countries, people openly have these discussions, but in America, we're not allowed to.
Yeah, this is not even like, this is like talking about which restaurants you want to go to
Yeah.
in Asia. And a lot of people here, they can't fathom that. But you'll see politicians, again, like talking about this in a debate on TV. And my point there is that the reason is because they want to suppress white people recognizing that they should develop a degree of racial consciousness. So I do sympathize with that. But to add to that point, when you see these other countries openly talking about race realism and having pride and integrity in their people, they do it with a cadence of not trying to berate and add excessive hostility. That's the thing where their point and their movement, I think they're correct. But I think they're going to bring it down to a lower class cadence if they keep it with that sort of temperament. Now, they have their intellectuals, which are formidable, and I respect them as well. But that's just my one critique. It's not, I hate to sound like a girl, but you know what they say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. Believe it or not, in regards to scaling what you want, it is how you say it as well. And if they're going to just ignore that, then it's not going to get as far. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, no, any hateful, if you're driving something with hate, no one's going to listen. But then they're also getting hate. They're looked so demonized. Is probably why they're so hateful. So it's kind of a two-edged.
Yeah. Most normies, when they see this, they're just gonna, like, to be honest, the most average people, when they see like the style and the vehemence from them, they're just gonna go, "What? Get away from me!"
Crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing, and they need to understand that. Like, you have to have stepping stones to this conversation. If you're just gonna jump to it, it's like, I can name them.
Yeah.
Or I can talk about who is funding MindGeek, who owns all the pornography. Who is funding open society, so for widespread immigration, who is behind
BlackRock.
Yeah, pretty much every institution that is normalizing degeneracy. We can talk about it from that angle, and then they can connect the dots. Or I can just start saying,
these people are bad.
Exactly.
No, it's not the case.
Exactly.
I'm sure my audience can figure who we're talking about, because you can't say it on YouTube. But yeah, it's not they're not bad, but there's a small percentage of them that seem to be doing a lot of bad stuff.
Yes, and there's a better way to package it, is all I'm saying. And again, I've often been told, you're a yellow-skinned, slanty-eyed, evil guy. Don't even give us suggestions. I said, all right, that's fine. I'm happy.
Before we switched to art, I said a funny thing thinking of Japan, the same group we were just talking about. They did there was a TV segment that was dead serious. I think the Japanese demons were called like Tinga or something.
Tengu.
And they were trying to figure out if these people were the Japanese demon. And it was a dead serious thing. They were going to the synagogues, and
the Tengu literally have black boxes on their head.
There's a reason. There's a reason why they thought they might be the demons, and there was this. You would never see that in America, but it was just a casual, debate in Japan where are these ancient demons, and they were going to talk to those people too about it, and they were agreeing like, yeah, we were probably the demons. And your culture.
They actually co-signed it. That's pretty. And is that the cap? Okay, I love all people.
I think we're in agreement with that. We're not coming up with hate, and it's just like, but maybe there's an organization with these people.
It's much more pattern recognition. Like, I don't want to sound all Confucian here, okay? But there's a saying that if you're lost in a forest, and you see the sun going down, it's gonna get dark. You're gonna get further lost, and you see a pathway that's created with 1 million footsteps. That's probably your way out. And the brain is a pattern recognition machine.
If you're intelligent, you recognize patterns.
That's the point of having a brain.
The best chess player of all time came to the conclusion of a certain group is trying to dominate the world. The man with the highest IQ, can't remember his name currently, came to the same conclusion.
Yeah, the challenge here is that, it's an uncomfortable reality, but, all of these conservative establishment, what I call conservative ink, there's an industry of wearing this costume of being a conservative figure, right? You see it all over X, right?
Yeah.
All of these people, they'll talk about cultural Marxism, political correctness, identity politics, the welfare state. They'll talk about all these issues, and they're just pointing at these houses on fire, but they don't want to point at the arsonists.
They'll never name. Yep, they never peel back the layers and point.
There's an uncomfortable truth of where the fire is coming from.
And if you do that, they ban you.
Yeah, that's why I've been banned.
You've been banned how many times on Twitter?
This is account number 7.
They don't like an Asian guy speaking on these things. I think they hate that more than a white person, because they can yell white nationalist, racist. But they can't do that with you, and you're not hateful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like in all honesty,
you're a hard guy to deal with for these people.
And we've been hanging out, brother. We just had some coffee. Yeah. Like, in all honesty, like I'm a very stress-free, happy guy. You can tell, right?
Yeah, you're such a likable guy.
Yeah, I'm super chill.
That's why they don't want you.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? They hunt down guys like you more than the hateful guys.
But it's also because if I can show people, because keep in mind, I have been fighting, I've been vocal for white identity, race realism, for looking at World War II revisionism. a lot of
Let's
things.
do that at the end. We're gonna have to cut that out of YouTube.
I'll chill out.
You can finish your thought right now, but no, any World War II stuff, let's hit at the end because we're gonna have to cut.
Oh,
that
got
from
it.
YouTube and put
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Rumble.
Well, basically, a lot of the topics that I've covered that got me banned, it's because I care about the truth.
Yeah.
Like my main thing is I care about the truth and I want to use my time righteously. And if I'm going to have all these people that, like, when I was making these reels, Jake, it's like my following was okay, but they nuked me. So now it's like
You're getting some viral reels. Though.
Yeah, they'll be getting like 20, 30 million views every reel.
Yeah, you had some content that was like, whoa.
Yeah. And I actually did a lot of curative thought behind it. The reason why I was speaking very fast was because I was thinking about the attention span of young people, and I'm trying to wake up younger generation. We can't do what the boomers did. The boomers will look at the boomers looked at us and said, "We hope you stay more poor than us." Mm-hmm. Like I look at young people, and if they're like training, if they're doing jujitsu, if they're like learning about our history and their culture, I love that. I get excited for them.
Want to better the young.
100%. That's our job, right? So as I see this, I'm like, okay, how can I tune in with their attention span? So I intentionally made them 90 seconds of machine gun style information, and that's why they were so shared. And one of the most fulfilling moments that gave me more fuel to keep doing this was I got a text from this guy. He's in a fraternity. I'm not going to name the school, but he's in a group chat with hundreds of their network fraternity. He dropped one of my reels in the chat group, and they were all talking about it. And I just woke up a lot of people.
Exactly.
I just woke up a lot of people. They could be future teachers, doctors, who know? These are kids in a frat, and they're all talking about a reel because I packaged it well for them with the right cadence and dialogue. So I was like, wow, there's power here. You can wake people up. And I think that was causing it too. That's like a domino effect. So they go, this guy's making young people have this conversation. He doesn't hate anyone. He's pretty chill.
Yeah.
He's making epic art. Let's not have any potential growth with him.
Oh, I think your reels were also art. You're an artist, so you put the art into your
Aesthetics
reels. Exactly.
Aesthetics are everything to me.
Even you look at like the great armies, like World War II. We can say maybe you can say he's the most evil man at all time, but look at the aesthetics of like the Nazis. Absolutely amazing. The aesthetics. I'm not speaking about anything else. Just the aesthetics are amazing. Everyone agrees on that, right?
Those Hugo Boss suits,
like, everything. The flags.
I should have worn
the
that
suits,
today.
The flags.
Right?
The episode would not be on YouTube.
Hey, I gotta compete with Ken O'Keefe a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Shout out Ken.
Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah, we'll switch to art in a minute. Well, that's what I was planning on opening with, but you never know. You got to follow.
Yeah,
the
you never know.
You got to
fight back.
One more thing to go to art. Was it true you got fired from a job teaching kids for judo for free?
This is more recently. This was only a month and a half ago.
And you're just giving it because you love it and passionate about it.
Yeah, I wasn't even getting paid doing this, Jake. I just did this on the weekends. Mm-hmm. We're both fighters, and we understand that a big function of martial arts, I would argue more important than learning how to fight, which is important, is it gives young people character.
So important for kids.
It builds resilience. Mm-hmm. And you need that in this life.
Yeah, so you're giving back to this community. Yeah,
because like martial arts have taught me so much. Martial arts have made me a better painter. When I spoke to my sensei private, I said, the main reason I come here is to be a better painter. Mm-hmm. And he said, that you're applying the principles. Martial arts makes me a better painter. Mm-hmm. So that's because I understand it philosophically.
Everything in life.
Yeah. But I guess I'm being egocentric here, but
no, it does. Painting.
It makes me a better painter.
Yeah, because they're both art forms.
So because I felt that in my life, the discipline martial art taught me, it made me carry the stride in my painting practice in my career. I said, I want to give this back to the kids. Mm-hmm. So I just started teaching martial arts on the weekends on the side, no pay. Some lady saw me, I guess, because my reels were going viral, and she told the front desk that, one of your instructors is an anti-Semitic, self-hating Asian, like Nazi white supremacist alt-right figure.
Right.
And here's the thing: the coaches, they're all cool, and they're pretty base.
Yeah.
So they kind of ignored it the first time. She got her and her friends to kind of keep calling and berating them, and eventually, I know from a business perspective where my sense is coming from.
Yeah.
No admonishing, and I love him. He's taught me so much, but I understood. But he goes, "Listen, we can't have this attention in PR. We can't have this kind of attention coming our way. So I can't teach kids to become resilient. I can't teach them martial arts now because these people are hell-bent on reprimanding others and castigating people. So it's it's not cool.
Yeah, it's not gonna make you like it anymore. The same thing with me. Everything I do, they're after trying to get me canceled. Thankfully, in the fight industry, most people tell me to fuck off, and Funny thing is, I do a ton of business with a Jewish guy, Derek Moneyberg, who's an amazing person, and he gets like hate mail all the time. But luckily, he's like, dude, Jake is not hateful. He's an amazing person, loyal friend. He's been so good to me. Just go fuck yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And thankfully, I have loyal people. I'm very fortunate in my life. People I do business with are very loyal. I have long-term good friendships. People know I'm not hateful, but this group, they go around, you know, and they'll make it seem like more people care because they're super organized. So they'll have 100 people call or email. So people get panicked if they don't know. But
And they're very organized.
They're very organized.
That's the thing. And I will say that that's a blessing, brother. Because if you are free of financial constraints from any Babylonian system and model, then you got to utilize that role proper. And I am in that position as well as an artist. I work for myself. I sell paintings basically to the base elite, you know? So that's a lot of where this perspective was coming from. I was just thinking, okay, what is a man? This show is called Fight Back, right? Yes, there's, you know, if you meet somebody who's jacked and who trains martial arts, they're most likely going to be based.
Yeah.
Most likely. But the highest calling, and I don't want to get too biblical already, but the highest role of a man, the highest masculine imperative is actually utilizing your voice to stand up for what's right. That is the highest calling. And in Christianity, it's called the logos. That spirit of you where you want to speak for what's true and right and fight for what's correct. That's the logic spirit in you. And I just felt this desire in me. And you know, any man here, regardless of what position they have, whether they're anonymous or whether they're public, whatever it is, we feel this like innately that when you're born as a male with male genitalia, because you got to make that clear, here's the deal. Those Mongol son of a bitches are coming this way. The women and children go this way, and we go this way. That's the deal.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is to be a man. So when I was having this opportunity to work for myself, after that whole roller coaster being canceled, by the way, I said, okay, I'm going to use my voice proper. So when people say, why are you doing this? Are you secretly controlled up? All these stupid questions. No, I just want to be towards the truth. That's literally all it is.
You know, it feels so good to be able to speak the truth, but I also try not to judge others because I am financially secure. So it's like, I'm not rich, but I have plenty of money. So I try not to like judge others, you know, because I understand if you have like kids you're feeding and these people do and will get you fired. And for me, I just got offered a large chunk of money to give someone some editorial control of my podcast. Luckily, I'm in a financial situation where I could say no. He probably was thinking I was more desperate than I am because a lot of fighters are broke. But it's just like, you know, I was in shock that someone wanted to come in and control what guests I put on my podcast. And obviously, he wouldn't want guests like you. And he was offering a good chunk of money. I was like shocked. I'm like, wow, these people really come in and do this.
Yeah, you know, they don't want fearless men who are tough and are going to stay walking in their stride, having their own platform. They want to make sure you're compromised. And that's exactly what I dealt with in their art world. You know, you mentioned I won Artist of the Year in 2020. Well, you know, it's funny because people know me for revitalizing Christian imagery. And in a way, I'm like the anti-Marina Abramavic. I'm like the opposite of her. But I had the same situation because the art industry, you know, it's all Talmudically controlled, we'll say. And when I started embarking on the depiction of Christian imagery,
Christ,
they always said, I had one art dealer. She said, well, why don't you do, you know, the more intellectual dark web approach? You can still point and denote towards Christendom, but make it more Jordan Peterson. Make it more like archetypal language. Don't make it
crazy
oblique.
How blunt they are, right? It's like shocking. That's how I felt when I was offered this money. It's so shocking just how they actually tell you this stuff.
Well, they defined themselves from the rejection of Christ, right? So I said, no, a real artist, this is not me. This is me being secular. You go where the art takes you. And
100% agree.
With me, if you understand, like, what is the function of art? Like the function of art, we can say art is decorative, it's beautiful, but the actual function of art, because it's a distillation, it's all about normalizing values. If we venerate something, if we watch a movie, if we watch a comedy show, you're normalizing a certain degree of values. And what I want to normalize was this wholesome, benevolent, fatherly love. That's what I want to spread more of. I think that's an antidote to our sick society. So that's why I was painting this Christian imagery. And they were not a fan of that.
No. Real quick, why don't you say what your website is so people can go look at your art?
Yeah, so you can find me at arthurkwonlee.com. As of now, my ex is at Bad Asian, BADAZN. It's because I went into a space.
Canceled after this.
No, we'll see. It is what it is. This is my new normal. I went into this X space, and it was a blank only space. And one girl saw me, said, "Oh, there's Arthur Kwon Lee, that bad Asian." So I said, "I'm gonna use that. That's me now."
A white only space. Yeah.
Oh no, it was anti-Christian sewer dweller.
Anti-Christian.
Supporting space.
The group we can't talk about space.
Yeah, I wanted to go in there and just troll them. Anyways, so that maybe I was in bad faith. But one of the girls said, "Oh, there's that bad Asian Arthur Kwon Lee." So I said, that. "I'm using that."
That's perfect.
Bad Asian. AZN. Instagram, I've been nuked several times there, but I created a backup. It's so incognito, they're never gonna find me. It's at not Arthur Kwon Lee.
They got you. Or they're not gonna get that one.
Yeah, it's so inconspicuous. But that's just more if you want to connect and talk with me. But it's really my X account, and if you guys want to support me, you go to arthurkwonlee.com, buy my prints. If you want to get an original, a lot of these people who are on our side who do have money, you're usually buying art from people that hate you.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You might as well get a person who makes way better art. Like, honestly, pardon the egocentricity, but my hands make fire, bro. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I brought you on.
I train on this so hard, bro. Yeah. Like we both understand martial arts. Like, I train as a painter. I put so much time developing my hand skills, you know? So it's like the accuracy. So yeah, you can purchase my work there as well. You're going to have to click collect and connect with me, and you can also support me there as well,
Yeah, we were talking about the similarities too in the art, how they transfer over, and how both of them, you have to build a base of the rules, but the rules don't apply once you're great. Rules are more guidelines.
What I would say is to any young person who's either following Jake and wants to get into fighting, or maybe you're listening to me, you want to get into fine arts or the production of something creative. There's like 2 universal rules. This is very like educational, but there's really 2 adages you should really tattoo on your brain. And the first one is you need to learn the rules to break the rules.
Exactly. Learn the rules first, so then you can start breaking the rules. So you should learn the rules first.
Yeah, if somebody came up to me, if some young artist came up to me and says, "I want to paint, knight slaying dragons and epic things, and I had this dream, and I've been always thinking about this," and I'll be like, "Well, I need you to first draw this bowl of fruit."
Exactly.
And he'd be like, "What?" And I'd be like, "That's how it is, kid."
You gotta do the boring stuff for years first, in both martial arts and I don't know much about art, but I'm assuming the same. You have to really learn.
It's actually no different.
And I break the rules all the time now. I'm sure you probably do too, because we're at
all
levels
the time
where it's like the rules don't apply.
I start sometimes just by throwing like Jackson Pollock CIA psyop style, just throwing paint on the canvas, and then I build it into something beautiful. And
you typically know what you're doing when you're breaking the rule, though, right? It's not random. You do it knowing with an idea of why you're breaking that rule.
100%. And this is the thing. Miyamoto Musashi said that once you see the way fully, you'll see it in all things. And what he was saying is that whatever discipline you do, whether it's fighting, painting, really whatever it is, if you really commit your life to it, you'll start to see these principles salient in everything else. And it's funny, actually. Musashi's like a fusion of us because he was a swordsman, but a lot of people don't know he was also a painter.
I know he's a painter.
So this is what I loved about Musashi, because after the feudal period of Japan, you had all these samurais who were now ronins. They no longer had masters. And he actually said that because we no longer have a master we dedicate ourselves towards, we have to dedicate that same discipline into an artistic form. And he recommended poetry and calligraphy. So I've always related with that because before I picked up the brush, I was doing martial arts. And I always feel like I embody that warrior spirit into my paintings. And that's kind of why I never shut up. You know what I mean?
No, because exactly. The same thing with martial arts, and that's what I feel like men always have to have projects. That's kind of why I started the podcast. It's like you're happier when we're in a project trying to create things and spread the word and spread awareness and fighting. I think we need to always be trying to accomplish things.
Yeah, man should be pushing up against the resistance. Because there's always evil. There's always darkness afoot that only men have to. We're the only ones who are going to solve this.
Yeah, you got to always do the right thing, even if it costs you money. And it is harder for people that are struggling to feed their kids. I remember, having a daughter, trying to think where the rent money is going to come, where the next meal is going to come from for her. Never eating for myself, but when you're trying to feed a kid, I understand the struggle people are in. So I do emphasize the other side.
Yeah. You can make all the shekels in the world, but if you lose your integrity, how can you call yourself a man? That's really what it boils down to.
No, exactly.
And I had that with, when I won Artist of the Year, I had 6 galleries I was represented by. And, pretty big Babylonian collectors and dealers I was running through. And I was showing Art Basel Miami. I showed in Mexico City, Berlin, Tokyo. Pretty good solo exhibitions. Some of them are selected exhibitions as well. White Hot Magazine, Korea Times, like Art Verge, like big art magazines. And there's this new kid on the block thing. And this is before I ever opened my mouth about any cultural commentary. I was just new kid on the block. up and coming
Making
painter.
fire art, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I'm gonna share my history about burning bridges. Well, they wanted me to turn away towards Christ. I said no. I'm gonna go and see what happens here. They all totally ghosted me, blackballed. When that story came out, Conservative Inc., they heard that a Christian artist means de facto conservative for them, right? And I was on InfoWars talking about this. I went on Daily Wire talking about this, Newsmax. And then there was this vibe of like, oh, this guy can be like our Asian artist in the Conservative Inc. system who also makes art. And there was an opportunity there as well, and that's why a lot of the biggest names have my art. Like a lot of the big names, like I'm not gonna even name them, but they have my paintings, and I turn from them as well. And people keep saying, why do you keep walking away from these opportunities? Well, it's because they're not in line with my values. And I truly, genuinely like put that as my North Star.
Yeah, I can make a lot more money if I aligned with Conservative Inc., but also realized that, truth is a lot more important. So I walked away from the Conservative Inc. I really
you're a
really
real man
disappointed
then.
when these
You're a
people
real
are.
man,
Exactly.
yeah. Christ said that if you are truly being a real person and being honest to yourself, it's going to be a straight and narrow path.
Yeah, I think the long
Very
run is going to
few.
pay off for us, and at least with dignity, even if not financially. And I think financially it will too. I think people are waking up and times are changing.
Yeah, the beauty of what we're doing is that the genie is out of the bag, and I don't think it can go back in.
No.
I really don't, because if they could have controlled the internet, I think they did not realize. We're talking about the early end. The internet changed everything, and you can't reverse this.
No, I think it's too late to take control of it. And even if they killed some of us, it doesn't make a difference. At this
Yeah, it
point.
doesn't make a difference. That's the thing. So like, if they want to use this as a martyr, it's only gonna accelerate the force.
And I think that's what keeps us safer. That's people like, oh, you're gonna get killed. I'm like, what good does it do? It doesn't make a difference at this point.
So we have the advantage of the internet. That is one way how we combat the system, but we also need to now free ourselves from Babylonian banking. I think there's two things we're really fighting. It's degeneracy and usury. And the internet, we have to be careful with that because all the pornographic excess, disgusting.
It can pop up by accident. People have kids and stuff. The average age of porn watches is 11 years old, I saw now. Because when I was a teen, we didn't have access to it. And that's just terrible that 11-year-olds are getting addicted to pornography.
Yeah.
But no one will ever talk about like, hey, let's make it a little harder to get online. Let's make it where you can't access it without like a little bit of a process.
Yeah. This is I don't mean to change the gears here, but this is a big social dysfunction. Like the reason why, there's so much red pill and manosphere content is a big part of it is just because men are all like widespread addicted to pornography and they don't understand how to be integrated men now because they would I've always said that this entire dating culture scene today, it's just so dark. As I was telling you, it's so dark. And my issue with a lot of this, because again, I have enemies everywhere. I have enemies in the red pill manosphere, Conservative Inc. A lot of Wignats don't like me. A lot of Christian groups say, like you should never be painting Christ. Like I'm just being myself. Like my followers, they like me because I'm an individual that's transparent about his journey. That's just who I am.
When you're real, you're gonna piss a lot of people off.
That's a fact. And the red pill in particular, like I agree with their diagnosis, but I've always critiqued them because I find that a lot of these men, they just want to use women as emotional punching bags because they're afraid of actual intimacy. And that's what I've come to see. They would rather, compensate with a lot of sexual access. I understand it's fun, there's a face and all that. I get all that.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, and I'm not speaking about any individual, but a lot of these guys, the reason why they're into this content is because they want to extend adolescence of high school and they want to like continue that forever without realizing that if men were actually honest, and this is a big thing. I'm all about making people more integrated and wholesome. I'm trying to spread love, brother. If men were more honest, they would admit that what everybody wants, actually, regardless of gender, is affection from the opposite sex and someone they're attracted to.
Yeah.
But all this other new content, it's just about trying to pile on
Too much
low
hate
IQ.
divide.
They specifically bring on really stupid girls. It's just like it gets so old, you know what I mean?
I did one of those panels and it was so embarrassing. I think like two of them, I'm never doing it again. It's just like they bring the dumbest women. It's just like, I love women. I think women are great for the most part.
I love women too. And people think I don't because I talk about feminism, but I love women.
But the thing is, if you're a strong man that leads, most girls are going to follow you. So when these guys are constantly talking about how bad girls are, they need to look at themselves a little bit maybe. And of course there are there are bad girls out there for sure. There's trashy women that you want no part of.
Yeah, but you just stay away from them.
Exactly. You have to also I guess you have to also know how to judge character. You can't just be like, oh my God, this chick's hot. I need to girlfriend her up. You got to look at girls. If they're trashy, get away from them. But there's plenty of good girls out there. They're going to follow their man's lead. Yeah.
We need more of that because what you just said is it's an antidote. It's bringing it together. So I agree with the red pill diagnosis.
Yeah, so they have good points, but
Yeah. But I don't agree with their solution, because their solution basically is kind of hypocritical, because these guys talking about social cohesion, family values, they tell women to do that, but at the same time, they're encouraging other men to never commit. And you know, it's like, and to basically be a playboy forever. That's contradictory. And as a man, you should be consistent. So that's kind of my issue.
Yeah, we're a big part of the problem. And when I was younger, I fell into that culture. You know, when I first hit fame and money, you know, it's easy to get sucked into that. But then you realize how empty it is. You know, you're sleeping with girls with no attachment. It's just like you start feeling like empty inside, and you realize like having love and affection.
I've always personally thought it was overrated. You know, and because you know when I was doing my art show, I told you there was like 150 people, one exhibition a month. Half of them were beautiful women, and I don't know. It's like for me, it's like it's if there's no romance in there, you know,
it's not. Yeah,
that's for me though. Maybe you guys will be like, okay, maybe that's a Cerebratonic East Asian thing.
I think you're 100% right.
Too much
I think
Netflix
what happened
watching,
is, you know, maybe I was younger, I was poor, didn't get much girls, grew up with like not being able to talk to girls, and all of a sudden there's so easy and they're beautiful. I felt like I had to do it because everyone expected me to do it. Then you realize how empty it is. There's no emotional attachment.
And I will say, to co-sign a little bit of your perspective, quite actually, this is important. I think it is important to be a man that women are attracted to. But personally, for me, like my DMs are pretty full. I'm happy. That's enough. I don't even need a gallivant. Like, to me, that is enough. But I don't want to get lost in that sauce, because I don't think it's good for my soul.
No, it's not. Someone who's been there, and like I'm good friends with Dan Blazarian. I saw him. You know, we talked about personally, but I saw him the other day in an interview. He said just like any addiction is what happens is, you know, at first it feels great, then you need double the amount, and then more. Then if you don't get that addiction, you start feeling like you're losing yourself. And that can happen with anything, whether it's sex, drugs. You just need to chase more and more for a high. So it's still not a good addiction. There's probably worse addictions to have than that one.
You're just getting more numb.
Yeah, and then you're just like, oh, I need another girl. It becomes like an addiction. Like, you know, it can get out of control if you get fame. I mean, someone like you who has status, it's like it can just become so easy if you have some kind of fame when you're like, what am I doing? This is not healthy.
Yeah, and also like, I don't know, maybe for me a North Star is a very. I've always said, whether people are conscious of it or not, we are all incredibly aesthetic creatures. Like every person, yourself, me, we all have like this image in our mind that's picturesque that we're walking towards. For some people, it's that white picket fence with the family. You know, for some people, it's having the freedom to just make art all day, which was mine for a while. I was in monk mode for a long time. It's different for every person, but, you know, my North Star is very benevolent. It's very wholesome. I revere that so high, and I'm trying to heal the world, man. Like, you know, as much as I can go way more viral and get more views by being an animosity agent.
Yeah.
And like that gets views, sure.
Yeah.
Like ultimately I want people to, you know, become more biochemically healthy, integrated, and connected with high culture.
Yeah, healthy mentally, physically, it's all connected.
Yeah. That's what I want more than anything, man. You know?
No, I couldn't agree more. Like we get hate for that, but it's like we're trying to push love and whatnot. Let's circle back to art. I don't know a lot about art, but I was doing a little Googling because I had this interview today. You know, I was doing a little research. And I saw something insane. I've always hated the modern art. You know, I remember going there with my daughter, and it was just crap. CIA connection to creating and pushing the modern art. Have you read up on that at all?
Yeah.
I was like shocked to find that. I was like, what the hell? And not your type of art, like that other type of like selling a banana, like the CIA.
Yeah, that banana was sold for $150,000 at Art Basel. Actually, I was exhibiting in a booth at that show, which is pretty crazy. I was there. Like, I was at that 2019. It was one of the most viral things in our world. The banana duct taped to a wall. I was at a show called Scope. If you go down, you would have seen my booth. And I had all these epic Greek painted statues done with realism, and it's convincing and huge.
It's amazing art.
Yeah,
And they're bidding on the banana.
Yeah, and they're bidding on the banana. But notice who's bidding on the banana, by the way. But
a Babylonian or what?
Yeah, actually, yes. So it is what it is. All that being said, there's a couple things to unpack here. The first thing is, let me make this a summarized version. You know, Einstein said if you can explain it simply, then you understand it proper. The art industry is a 3-tiered pyramid today. At the bottom, you just have people trying to make their voice, develop a portfolio. Most of them are baristas, just painting for fun, making a little Instagram account. The middle's where you can start getting some shows because you have a cohesive body. You can make some money. That's where I did really well at the top end, and I had a 1-foot door at the top.
That's where there's money.
That's where it's not even about the art. Now, you need to be vetted proper, but the top of the art world is only 6 galleries. They run the entire scene. Marion Bonsky Gallery, Hauser and Wirth, Gagosian, Werner. I mean, they're just 6 galleries, and they run the entire global scene, and they're really just a financial instrument.
Who are these people running it? Is it
Well, I don't need to say who.
Is it
Jake Shields,
or is it
Well, they're in the same club. They're in the same club because this is how they can allocate and move assets. And keep in mind that also purchasing art and making it into a donation, excuse me, is a tax write-off. So if you're making billions,
wait, so I could donate a large piece of art and then
you can write it off legally. It's a loophole that it's not, you're not going to get in trouble.
Interesting. Yeah, there's people understand the
wink,
loopholes.
wink to you base money. I'm
yeah,
the
right. So if you need to spend a bunch of money for a write-off,
yeah, but the point is that this is a loophole that's like completely legal. People do it all the time, and basically this gallery sector is used for money laundering and writing off taxes. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's what's going on. But you got to understand, there's also that's the utility function. Now we can talk about the culture and aesthetics function. What are they permeating into the world now? That's the other aspect, right? So there's the hardware. Now here's the software. Here's what they're putting out there.
Ugliness?
Degeneracy, but you have to understand there's really 2 polarities, and I'm going to get a little bit spiritual here, but everything is always this push and pull. I hate to sound like the Asian guy bringing up yin and yang, but everything is universal standards versus aesthetic relativism. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying here is that often we have this conception that when a person has like a predilection, attraction to a certain aesthetic or art, that is because, it's just purely subjective. It's art is subjective. No, a person's belief is going to determine the type of art they want to promote. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is that it's connected to their values. The art people produce is connected to their values is what I'm saying. Yes. Somebody who's more right-leaning, they're going to make work that actually has classical standards. People that are brainwashed and useful idiots on the left, they produce this hogwash. I'm telling you, I've seen it time and time again. I've been in the art industry my whole life. And all of the art at the top, it's all relativity. It's all postmodern. It has no classical standards. They don't care about beauty. They don't care about God. They don't care about holding anything together, because what are they trying to do? They're trying to, one, insult your intelligence by being pretentious and saying you don't get it. You're an outsider.
I felt insulted when I went to the MoMA.
That's what it is.
I felt really
They
insulted.
want you to feel
I felt insulted by them that I paid the ticket to go in there.
Yeah, that's what they want you. Well, they want you to feel that. They want you to feel you don't get it.
Yeah, but to me, I was more insulted that they charged me to go in and see that crap. But a lot of people might not view it the same way I did because they want to pretend like they get it. And I was just like, it was like an insult to my intelligence. I felt like.
Yeah, they want you to call it bold and daring, and
it's garbage. Have you been to the Modern Art Museum in New York?
I've been to all of them. Yeah. Can you imagine if you're, let's say you and your daughter are looking at an ice skating show, mm-hmm. and the girl falls on her ass. Yeah. And then she demands everyone to applaud because I'm doing something different, mm-hmm. and it's outside of the orthodoxy. And then the judges give her a 10. What's going on in the art world is that everyone is standing up and clapping for that.
That was a perfect analogy. It was just walk through there, and I felt insulted that they would try to pass this off as art.
Well, today art is no longer about beauty, and it's a shame. And the reason why this is a very important aesthetic and spiritual point I'm trying to bring up is when I say I'm trying to make the world more pure and heal it, the reason why this is why I became an artist in many ways, mm-hmm. because we live in such an irreverent culture. When is the last time you heard anything mainstream about reverence, about this was so beautiful that I was humbled? Mm-hmm. Do you ever hear that today?
Nope. No.
This is what I'm saying, because we have disconnected from our notion of beauty. Mm-hmm. Now, most normies, when they hear the word beauty, they get it confused with hotness.
Yeah.
So if I say, what do you think is beautiful? They'll start ranking some woman in a 1 to 10 rating scale. Mm-hmm. Now, when you read any of the great philosophers or the ancients or any of the church fathers, beauty is more synonymous to the sacred. And we no longer have a sense of anything being sacred because nothing is regarded as pure today. And the function of art was to point upwards. Real beauty is about bringing that sacred feeling again. And I just don't see that in the ethos. And that's why I'm trying to generate more of that art. That's really the goal, because if we don't have that, then what are we fighting for?
Yeah, when I've traveled like Europe and the Middle East and stuff, you know, if I go in, for example, some of these old churches and mosques and the stones, you walk in and
It's transcendent.
you feel the magic. Like, you can feel the presence of God. It's just pure beauty, and they built this without machinery. It's like you've been to some of those churches. It's just magical.
Amazing.
You walk in, you just feel it. You're like, wow, you know, I can't believe I used to be an atheist.
You
They built this
you
for
feel
God.
so humbled because
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's like marble that looks like drapery. I mean, it's borderline magic, and many people who have never collected art, once they actually acquire actual art, they realize this is like a spiritual investment. You put this in your home, and if the artist is on point, and if they understand these principles and they dedicate their life proper to have these skill sets in their hands, and they can produce gold and fire, when you see this work, you like feel your brain chemistry move. Like people don't understand, like this is the point of art.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's a saying that beauty will save the world. People don't understand what this means. This literally means that the enemies, they don't have beauty. Keep this in mind. It's impossible for them to create beauty. That's why this go woke, go broke thing, that is a modern way of saying beauty will save the world. Anytime these DEI platforms make like, you know, like a Black Robin Hood or whatever it is, they always tank, even if they have way more CGI, way more technology, way more funding, whatever Disney has, they have more backed up now,
So
but they
ugly.
fail because the story is not oriented towards something actually beautiful. It's built into the archetypal structure. So when we say we have the truth, people don't understand that us having the truth, it's not like something we're hoping and pushing for. This is something we have to just reveal because it's already there.
Yeah, no, I think
You know what I mean?
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I don't really study art that much, but I think it's such a big part of the problem in our culture. Thinking about now is a loss of beauty in art. Like I just said, you know, traveling through Europe and Middle East, it's just the pure beauty they put into things, and the statues and the buildings and the paintings. You just literally feel the magic. We don't really have that anymore in America. Like, luckily, there's guys like you trying to bring it back, but it's like it's not the norm here anymore.
I'll tell you how bad it is, Jake. I'm in the Telegram chat group, and we are all literally, I'm just a vocal guy, but we're all band artists.
Crazy.
And all of us, we make way better art than whatever's out there, and we work way harder. And the standard, the skill of perfection, it's like what these people are all individually producing as their thesis and portfolio. It's so beautiful. Like you'd want to just look at this and be like, wow, it's like I'm looking into like a crystal ball, and my psychic focus is just, this illustration is so crazy. It's like borderline magic. And we can't get mainstream work because all the content we're pushing, it's very deep, and it's about what brings us together. And we don't get the attention because we're not agents of degeneracy. And, you know, whether it's, I was just talking to Sam Tripoli about this.
I know Sam.
Yeah, we were talking about how, you know, in the comedy world, there's actual comedians who are de facto free speech agents, which is what comedians are. They're at the vanguard of art. They are. Like Leonardo, Sam, like all these people, you're de facto free speech agents. We need to protect them. But there's comedians that are useful idiots. You're Jimmy Kimmels. Yes. And in every field of art, not just comedy, you're going to see the real ones and the useful idiots. And that's what I've come to see. And the useful idiots, they do very well.
They make a lot of money.
They make a
They're
lot
the
of
ones
money.
That make all the money.
Marina Abramavic, which we were just talking about, the witch.
The witch.
Her
literal
patrons are the Rothschild family, and she's supported by the Clintons. I mean, like, and she gets world tour exhibitions with her stated goal to satanically invert the culture. Her stated public goal. And I have a chat group of 30 artists who want to spread this benevolence, and we're like fighting uphill so hard. It's crazy.
No, back to the witch real quick. What's her name? Marina Abramavic.
Marina Abramavic.
It's so crazy if you look into her. She did like a satanic ritual with Hillary Clinton. It's in the WikiLeaks things in Podesta. They're literally doing witchcraft, spirit cooking. They call it. They're like, what is someone running for the president doing witchcraft for? It's insane. And Ukraine asked for her by name. She has all these things where they're doing like fake human, like fake eating humans and sacrifice and like drawing blood and talking about like draining blood. It's pure Satanism, and this is mainstream art. Jay-Z does stuff with her. She's like one of the biggest, most famous artists. It's insane.
I'm gonna throw some shade on her right now. So
Good.
yeah, you know, it's interesting because there are these compromised celebrities who do these demonic manifestations often. Sam Smith, Lil Nas X, Lady Gaga. There's all these famous people who literally they'll dress as demons often. You know, they'll do all these presentations at large-scale events, NFL, whatever it is. And a lot of people don't know, but celebrities have their celebrities. And celebrities in that club, they don't have social media. There are people like Marina Abramavic. And she's really more of a curator or like like a networker for all these people to basically be the useful idiot class. So that's kind of her role. Yes, she makes this art, but look at the party she has. She brings all this talent together, and all of them co-sign each other to spread demonic energy.
No, it's truly evil, demonic stuff, and the amount of powerful people she's connected with is scary. Like,
she's friends with, oh man, like yeah, she was just appointed in Ukraine.
Yeah.
As the head of art, and it was a cultural ambassador for education, something of that sort, and it's specifically for the young people.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, and she's done like installations targeting
Kids,
being nearby
pictures
kids.
of her holding kids that look very pedophilia. You know, it's like obviously within that line, but that's what I see, like covering kids' eyes and weird stuff like that. That's just creepy.
Yeah, this is why I was blackballed. Imagine I have one foot in that door, like I'm literally going out for sushi with this guy named George Berger, who's the gallery in Soho, who's money laundering for Hunter Biden, and you know it's like this is I could have a sweet deal.
You were dealing with the same guy that was doing Hunter Biden's art.
We went out to eat several times.
So you could have been signed by big people getting
100%.
Big money.
I mean, he never said that to me.
But that was.
But we're going out.
Was what was going to happen?
Yeah. I wanted to be transparent. We're going out to eat. We're hanging out, and this is a highly coveted dealer, and I'm constantly hanging out with him. And one of the people he was friends with, he's basically saying like, yeah, like he's, you know, because we're all going out together, a group.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, he's looking at you as a new kid on the block. And, you know, these are very disrespectful. Even before I get into the degeneracy, even the way, I remember I got turned off because we were at this Italian spot, and the way he talked to the waitress, it was an ick. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, it's like he thinks they're like dogs.
I hate it when guys do that. Guys are money, they're like barking.
Yeah, just that.
Such a good sign tell.
Yeah, and I was like,
person.
oh, crap.
Like, no, if he's someone treating the staff and waitresses like crap, you're like, wow, this is not
that turned me off.
Not a good person.
And it goes deeper. You know, these people, what I'll say about the art world is true about all creative spheres, which is that these are highly coveted spotlight attention positions that you're giving you. Mm-hmm. Very often, they want you to either be compromised or morally analogous to them. Mm-hmm. Then they'll be happy to give you that. And that's the vetting, right? Now, the degree is going to change, but in the fine art sphere, it's really concentrated. That notion is very concentrated. So when I started painting Christian imagery, they go, no.
We want witchcraft. That's what we're gonna push.
Well, they said they were comfortable with me doing like, this is the words. This one woman, she said, I'm comfortable with you doing intellectual dark web. So they understand the lingo. Intellectual dark web.
What does that mean exactly?
You know, there's like the Jordan Peterson level of Christianity, which is basically Christian Zionism. Yeah, so they're okay. They're okay with me like depicting archetypes with some Christian implications, but they want me to mainly keep it predominantly pagan still. Yeah. That's what they wanted. And I just was like, okay. So I sort of floated with that because I wanted to have social camouflage to a degree because finances.
You know, money is important. It's like we do need money to have freedom because money buys freedom. You know,
so I had to play with that, Jake. I was like, let me blend in to a point. Let me see how far I can blend in. But then eventually I'm like, I don't want to do this. You know, so I was like, I want to be like Bezalel in Exodus. He's the first artist in the Bible. He created the tabernacle. I just want to be like, boom, let's fix the world. Let's use art in a beautiful sense. So I just went that way, and they all ghosted me.
Yeah, but I mean, at least you have integrity. The thing with art too is, you know, art's so important because almost every culture all through history had art. So it has to be so important to just being human. I mean, have you studied a lot of art history in different cultures, or? So
this is really nerdy on me, but before I became a painter, I wanted to be an art history professor.
Oh, wow.
I'm a nerd. Mm-hmm. I love art. I love art. A lot of people should understand their art appreciation is the opposite of what the Babylonian culture wants you to think. Art is for everyone. Mm-hmm. It's very direct gut. It's not, you don't need to know any theory. They'll tell you to read books like from Clement Greenberg, last name by the way says a lot, Rosenberg. They'll tell you need to read these books to understand art. I can
look at art and know it's beautiful.
That's it, yeah. Beauty is written in our heart. We don't need to read anything. And what they've done is they've made people feel like, oh, I need to wear a suit and I need to have a lot of these particular kind of friends, and then I'm going to be able to appreciate art. That is literally the opposite of before the Frankfurt School penetrated the art world. Mm-hmm. Art was for everyone. Art was actually a place for all people of different economic classes and cultures to come together and talk about whatever the thesis was. It was a beautiful thing. It's
Art's
almost like a
always been
church.
beauty, then it's crashed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was almost like a church thing. It's like fellowship. It's these people coming together, strangers, and talking about something deep. That's what the art world was. And then these new galleries came in, and then the instrument of it, and they're making all the money, so they're moving, they're getting all the property into real estate, kicking everyone out, monopolizing. Well, what are we supposed to do? And now, like we're kind of figuring it out. But they say the first ones to the door get the brunt of the force. So I'm happy to be that guy because it's for the culture, it's for what's right. But you're right. It's like there's even one gallery in McLean. They wanted to do work with me even after all this news.
Yeah.
Super based Christian woman.
Yeah.
She was based. And then we were talking. And then one of the board members said, after 3 months of talking, getting everything going, getting it set up, booking a date, just dropped.
No reason given.
Well, she told me one of the members of the board isn't a fan of my social media content, which is kind of fair.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah,
Which is kind of fair. I get it,
But still crazy. You said something a minute ago interesting, that people used to come to art as like a group and discuss things. That's what church used to be. That's what jiu-jitsu is, judo. Most men and people now don't have these places where they meet. I think that's absolutely crucial to make you a better man or better person. I think we need to do that. Guys that are struggling, go join martial arts. Go join some things where you get together as people, that community. That's what church always did, but we've lost that. A lot of the Muslim people, Muslim gets a lot of hate, but they still have these big communities. That's why I respect a Muslim. But Christianity's dying. We don't have these churches as meeting places. They need to get people get back to church or get back to find some kind of group where you can, we were talking earlier, we have the paintball league with Amazari and we go over there.
Yeah,
it's
awesome.
like a man's club when you're all like, but it's like a friendship thing where it's like, we need these as men to have men's clubs. But we also
the masculine camaraderie.
Yeah. I think men need separate clubs, but you also want to you need to also go hang out with women too for the estrogen balance. You need to do both. And men don't have men's clubs anymore.
Yeah, men's clubs used to be ubiquitous. They used to be everywhere.
It was like a thing that men always had.
Yeah, the Elks Lounge, like they had all these different fraternities. But because we live in a gynocentric culture where anything, especially masculine, comes together and is unapologetically masculine, it's going to be demonized because the ultimate weapon and tool, we're in a nice, serene area. The ultimate tool that they have to destroy our culture is Babylonian demasculinization. Like, this is their ultimate goal because ultimately we understand everything, all these isms, feminism, race, whatever it is, the LGBTQ agenda, it's all contingent on masculinity not proliferating. It's all contingent on that. And understand that when I say masculinity, I'm talking about men speaking the truth. I don't want people to think it therefore means savagery. Because that's a pseudo-masculinity they want us to accept about this. They're not looking at it.
It's not out shooting people and stuff. It's out, being.
Yeah, that's exactly how they psyop us. But
pushing hip-hop degeneracy, like making that look masculine. You're shooting people, but speaking out is real masculinity.
Yeah, I mean, standing up for what's right.
A lot of men don't understand that you get these guys being beta, pretending to be feminist. Women hate that. They want masculine men. Even the ones that pretend like they don't with the feminist girls, they still, I'm for sure you have those girls going after you too. It's just like they like the masculine men.
What people want, what women want is men who are comfortable in their skin.
Exactly. Even if you're saying things that are politically incorrect, they might be, like, oh, my friend's not going to like this, but they're going to be sliding in your DMs, I mean, you're well aware of how it works.
I've heard some crazy stories, man. I've heard some insane stories of the most toxically masculine-looking guys. Somewhere we probably know the same people, and we've gone out for drinks. And be like, look at these like known feminist chicks who are like messaging me.
It's hilarious. Like the high-profile feminist chicks will be DMing the guys that are considered the guys not supposed to be talking to.
It's because there's a natural order. There's a natural order, and we basically separated ourselves from it, and we do have to return to it to a degree. And I think a big issue, and also like the Red Pill doesn't talk about this because I like to analyze the sexual market as well. And as I've always said, as attraction decreases, transaction increases. And back then, it was really men basically saying, hey, resources for fresh eggs. A girl who's like hasn't slept around, she's pure, and she's basically saying, I'll stay at home and I'll make your baby, I'll have your babies and take care of the home. You just bring the resources. But women can make their own money now. So what's happening now is men have to be competent in other things. And that makes it harder. That's the hypergamy thing. On one hand, you can react to that and say hypergamy is evil and demonic. But on the other side, I kind of like hypergamy. Because it bottlenecks the men who actually want to do the work to become competent and hang out with other men who iron sharpens iron. And what comes out of that, if you do so, is you have more full power. But you have to do the work and actualize. of course, on the bottom end, it sucks. But the point is, if you're willing to actually do
Work your
so,
way up,
you feel like a bigger and stronger and more competent man. You're able to do more and accomplish more and be more proper and be an example. So this is kind of a strange thing to say, but I kind of like hypergamy. Now, if it's unreasonable and delusional, I get it.
Yeah.
But there's a societal function to it that I think people aren't considering as well.
No, girls are going to naturally, they want the guys that are competent and they want guys that can provide for them. And it's not just money. A lot of these guys think girls are all gold diggers. That's completely false.
Yeah. Also, like a lot of men don't want to admit that. A lot of it is like women also want high genetic stock just as much as men, and no one talks about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're a fucking fighter.
Yeah,
know that is a factor.
Yeah, girls like athletes. It's just
100%. And one of my issues is that again, I agree with the diagnosis the red pill gives, but my only issue is that I always say money and status is like a man's makeup. It makes a difference because if I see a girl with good makeup on, she looks hot.
Yeah,
it matters. But understand that like you need to first be a person who has character and more important than anything, in my opinion, more important than any course that red pill person will sell you is you're biochemically sound. Because the most important thing is that if your diet is shitty, if you're eating seed oils and grain sludge, if you're a slave minded and eating a slave diet, then it's actually a biochemical phenomena, which is what attraction is. Like at a pheromone level, women are not going to want you because you're overweight. Like it's chemistry.
And only people with pheromones, they never talk about that. They don't understand if you're putting out the proper smell that'll make girls go crazy.
Yeah, people don't understand. They don't
massive
understand that like the most important red pill advice is actually diet.
Yeah. and exercise too. I think
that's true. Yeah,
I think exercise is so part of your life you don't even like think about it.
Yeah, because it's fun.
Yeah,
and I kind of need it for mental clarity. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I have to work out for mental sanity.
I mean, I told you I mainly do judo now.
Yeah,
but whatever it is, it's just like as a man, you have to have some kind of physical competency. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, judo and jitsu are very similar. More throws on the base, but judo is such a little rougher on the body.
I'm a Seonage guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Shoulder
judo.
Throws all day.
Yeah, the high level judo. Like I said, I fought the Akiyama in Japan. Man, I won the fight, but he threw me a couple times. I'm like, wow, this is some high level judo right here.
Yeah, what I found with judo is it's so hard to learn, but when somebody's like so proficient in it, like when you see a guy like Fedor, he came out like a bat out of hell because most guys didn't have that level of proficiency and comfort in those weird positions.
Those crazy throws.
But even his foot sweeps, most of his takedowns, he did big takedowns, a lot of ogoshis, but a lot of his kochigaris, those inner foot sweeps, that's what got him in a dominant position.
No, so good. And
it's incredible.
I've studied a lot of judo too. Obviously, I'm better at wrestling with my original background, but a ton of respect for judo. More judo without the gi though for fighting, but it's still judo. I have a lot of respect for judo.
Yeah,
it's hard though. Do you know who Travis Stevens is?
Oh my gosh, forget about it, man.
I trained with that guy a few times. He is a beast, dude. We would just bam, bam, bam.
He could, this is a compliment to me. He could kill me with one hand. He could kill the rest of you with a finger.
He is so good. He is so good.
Yeah,
we had some vicious battles.
Another person that I really respect. Although I got to be careful how I say this because I've said on X that I don't like women fighting.
Yeah.
But I did do this workshop with Kayla Harrison.
Oh, she's vicious.
And I was like, dang, like
she is so good.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like people like to say, like there's some amazing judo athletes that do not get the attention to press that they deserve in America, and that does bother me.
It's popular worldwide, but it's not popular in America. Judo.
Yeah, that's crazy because like we make some killers.
Imagine what a star like Kayla would be if she was, or Travis Stevens. These guys would be big stars in other countries.
If they change citizenship to Japan, they'll have every sponsorship. Yeah. Like literally, because judo's a national sport.
Oh yeah, like Akiyama is a superstar when I go to Japan.
No, literally. Like if Kayla and Travis, as white people, go to Japan, they'll be novel, and then their passion for judo, which Japanese people love, they're set.
Oh, they'd be so rich.
They'd be so rich.
That's so if you listen to this, go to Japan and be rich.
Yeah, but they're representing. Yeah.
In America, but no, the high level of judo is a savagery.
Yeah, judo taught me a lot, man. I mean, again, it's
teaches you so much as a man. Martial arts. Every man should study martial arts, and one with contact, not just like kata's, karate. Where there's boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu. I mean, you would agree it made you a better man, right? And like you said, a better artist.
Yeah, it made me a better everything. I would say that if you're not practicing a combat sport, at least recreationally, you're not a complete man.
I agree. Yeah, and we don't have to be competitive with it, but you should.
Oh, no, not at all.
Especially if you're a little older listening.
I recommend it to my friend Enoch. He's also a band illustrator comic book artist. Mm-hmm. And I told him, he's like, how can I get more discipline with it? And I said, I need you to go into judo. Mm-hmm. Well, I should have said find a martial art. Yeah. But I said that'll make you a better artist. So just doing something that is difficult consistently, like, I get humbled all the time.
It is
Because
it is
even if you're
humbling
even
for
if you're a
martial arts.
G, you know, you can go, you can have a tough 3 rounds, and
Yeah.
you're tired, and then your
Yep.
sensei tells you to go with him, and you're cooked.
No, exactly.
So
You're totally
I'm still gonna
shot.
lose.
You have an off day, or
Yeah.
smashing everyone. Then Gordon Ryan comes in the gym,
Yeah,
like the
had
best of
drinks
all
with the
time.
boys last
It's
night,
like, yeah,
whatever it is.
exactly.
so it's important. I would say any man who's listening who's not participating in a combat sport, you are not a complete man. I would go that far.
And even if
yeah.
you're older, I would say you could join a jiu-jitsu gym. Just be a little careful where you go to make sure it's not like a highly competitive gym. Even people in their 40s can go join and start doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
Judo, I would say. Be a little
I also
harder in
say
your 40s.
younger people should do judo.
Yeah, if you're a little older, I would say.
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu
because
instead.
you know the closer you are to the ground, the less explosive injury there is.
Yeah,
so I would
say
recommend that.
younger. Yeah, judo. If you get a little older, it gets a little bit rough to start judo. I would think.
It's too much space.
Yeah, same with wrestling. I mean, I love both arts, but if you're a little older, I'd recommend doing jiu-jitsu or kickboxing or something because there's just so much explosive.
I've always said the same. You know, I had an older friend saying like, "Yeah, I think I want to join you for judo." I'm like, "Okay, BJJ, brother."
Yeah. Would you agree that it's an art like painting?
100%, because you're developing your voice. It's just like any other movement art.
Yeah, you can't. I've instructed for a lot of years.
It's very similar to dancing, and people say how. I'm like, because you need to. It's repetition, understanding choreographed position on repeat, and you develop your own style. Like you can't tell me when you're seeing a guy like Connor in his flow state or John Jones, like whoever, like when you see any of these fighters in their flow state and doing their own thing, it's pure art.
It's beautiful to watch it. You know, watching John
Beautiful.
Jones fight that night was beautiful. You know, watching some of these guys fight when they're in their prime it's beauty. You know.
Yeah. And you were mentioning Roy Jones and Muhammad Ali, and everyone says you need to put your hands up.
You're talking about the rules,
but they put their hands down, and you're just like, they can do that.
They can break the rules because they're the masters of it. The rules are there for. Now, if I'm teaching someone to box, I'm gonna keep your hands up. Once you're a master,
Yeah, probably
the
for like
rules don't-
several
the rules
years.
don't apply. Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And even me, I train some pro fighters now and a few really, really rich clients. I'm teaching them like, as you get better, you got to look to your body type to this. I don't want you to be a clone of me. You have to add your own art form. In the beginning, the first year I had some really rich guy hire me, and I was just clone. Do exactly. I was like, do exactly like I'm saying. Don't question. But now that he's getting better, it's like, okay, now you're ready to put your own art form into it.
Yeah,
I
I would say you have to be disciplined in whatever field you do. You need to dedicate. I would say, as a man, you should be dedicating yourself to a discipline. You have to, whatever it is. We wake up, you dedicate yourself to something.
Yeah.
Make it hard.
Like even now, every day I wake up and go train jiu-jitsu before I do anything, just to or almost every day, So just wake up, get that out of the way, and I just feel so much better. When I wasn't training, COVID hit, and they shut down the gyms. I just stopped. It just stopped fighting, and it was like I don't really get depressed, but I almost got repressed. I needed to go train jiu-jitsu every day, and they told me I couldn't do it.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's like if somebody said I can't paint, it would be like as a creative person, I'm not breathing proper.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
it's like therapy, right? Like that's how you we need to do it.
And I appreciate this because the space we're in, we're trying to spread the truth, right? This is what we do, Jake. But remember to also ground yourself with these practices that make you more integrated, fulfilled man. Like it's so important, and I want this side of the equation to be equally talked about because I'm sure you've noticed the loudest, most hostile, vociferous forces on X are these anonymous accounts who have like Crusader profile photos or Julius Caesar. But when you meet these people in person, they're like these dysgenic hobgoblins who are out of shape.
And they're attacking guys like me and you for not pushing the content the way they want and stuff. It's like, you're a fucking Anton.
And then they'll talk about like Civil War and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're afraid to confront the HR lady at your workplace with a septum piercing and purple hair. Like you're not doing anything. And no, if you really are about that life, great. But most of us, we have walked away from positions for our integrity.
Big money. We walked away from
probably
integrity.
bigger than their opportunities they had.
Probably a lot bigger. But also, I'm in a situation where I have money still. But like, exactly, I walked away from big money deals to speak truth.
Yes. So it's for me, it's a holistic thing. Because frankly speaking, now that I've traveled, I've spoken in front of audiences, 600 people in Ohio, all these different stages. And when I've met a lot of these people, honestly, a lot of it feels like Dungeons and Dragons. They're LARPing. They're playing a character. I'm a TradCon warrior. I love all that if it was true, because I know real TradCon people who are like really about that life. I'm talking to you. You're real.
Yeah.
Like I've met these people. Stu Peters, real.
Yeah.
When I met Nick, real. Like you meet these people, they're
you
real.
can tell who's real and who's not.
But there's a large disproportionate number of these people who are the most hostile, who have the most hate to throw. They're these little hobgoblins. I have to be honest. And it tells me a lot because they're obsessed with two phenomena. This is the flaw that I see. You know, we can talk about the left, but we already know they're stupid and retarded. So let's talk about the issue.
They're so retarded when you talk about them. Yeah.
Yeah, I say the right is the new left. And their delusions are in what I call purity spiraling.
Yeah, and none of us are perfect. We all make
mistakes. Yeah, that's the one we should address more than anything. These people, they're the first to throw stones, expecting this Puritan perfect image when they themselves don't have anything together and have no courage.
Yeah.
So I'm at the point where it's like, you almost just have to just say, okay, you know what? These are all little dysgenic freaks. I can't care. You know,
and I don't care about those people. That's what I learned. It's like,
and I guarantee you, if they were able to get access to the woman that they actually find genuinely attractive, I guarantee you they would be way more content.
Yeah, they wouldn't be pushing the same.
I guarantee you they would not be so angry and hostile. Because otherwise, I'm like, why are you so mad, dude?
I think that's a lot of the anger towards women. They're not getting them, which is understandable because women can be pretty cruel to the guys they don't like. So I understand that as well. But for me, when I wasn't getting them, I decided I was going to work hard and become successful. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to become a world champion, and I'm going to get all the girls I want.
Well, that's the correct approach. But I will also say that normie men are often very, because we talk about female delusion, I also see a lot of male delusion.
I agree. I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, because I see guys saying things like, "Oh, I need to have." Let me be the guy. Okay, let's say the guy's like, he doesn't have himself together. He's not in shape. He doesn't even make the best money. And he doesn't have a social life, and he's in a weird place in his life. He'd be like, oh, she should be a model virgin who also can perform like a porn star and cooks like a chef. And otherwise, you're all simping. I'm like, nobody's even looking. That girl wouldn't give you the time of day or knows your existence.
It's the same as the girl that's not that hot, and she's like, I want a millionaire who's 6'4".
Exactly. My point is, I've seen it go both ways. And it annoys me because I can talk about how feminism is ultimately gonna disconcert society, but I'm not there for I love women. Yeah, but I'm talking about a philosophical point, right? And we need to make that separation, and we need to understand that if you're gonna be so loud and confident about a position, you better have your ducks in line about that position. Yeah, I gotta say, because I would say 90% of X is like cope and projection.
Yeah, and just work to make yourself a better person. There's some things you can't control. You're born short, born this, but just like it doesn't matter. I've known short, ugly friends. You can't control that girls. Like have confidence, have a good personality, become successful. It's like there's so many.
We're all making up for things.
Yeah, we all have.
But the problem is these guys don't want. These guys just say accept it as is. I deserve it. It's kind of entitlement. That's my issue. So it goes both ways. And I've been harping on the manosphere a lot more than I should have on the show. But
it's all good because I think our audience is probably going to be. My audience is a lot more of those people.
They need to hear
some criticism back. Exactly.
They need to hear this because
obviously most people listening and agree that feminism's retarded and all that. So we don't even really need to get deep into that.
I mean, male delusion, man. Yeah.
No, it goes both ways. Let's circle back real quick into art. I think that's such an interesting, and I don't really ever have artists on. Have you what art history do you have periods that are your favorite in art history or?
Well, the first thing is there's a pretty good heuristic I'll use. It's a good compass that it's not a coincidence that all the greatest masterpieces throughout history, household names, Raphael, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, like typical names and beyond, to like Caravaggio, whoever, all of their subject matter was undergirded by religious subject matter.
Yeah. And
the reason why is because they're trying to make their art point towards something transcendent. So they're working with materiality. Like I'm mixing actual paint, right? Yeah. But I'm trying to denote and point towards something that is deeper that we all can share universally. So that's the first thing I'll say. All the most successful art periods where people revere and worship and venerate, they're all produced by, actually, in a Western canon for sure too, they're all made by Christians.
It's interesting because I mentioned the churches earlier and the same thing with art. They were trying to reach God.
Yeah, I mean, they're all made by Christian artists. That's not a coincidence.
Interesting. What about, do you like any of the Asian art, or are you more into the Western art?
Well, there's a lot of amazing artists, in particular in Japan. But I would say that
European's more the favorite art for you.
100%. White people did art correct. And I would say that, it's funny because when I have spoken up for white identity, a big part of it is because I am a Christian. And I've always said that if I was in the 1100s or in the Crusades, I'll be supporting brown people's identity, these Middle Eastern people, because they were carrying the weight of the cross. Today, the people carrying the weight of the cross, and you understand what I mean by the cross symbolically in the meaning. The people carrying the weight of the cross today is white America. And that's connected and proven through the art history canon, because the same legacy of the people today here, this is the modern Rome, you know? All the art was produced by Christian white people. And with me, it's like, I've seen this art in person, and I was like, this is beautiful.
Oh, it is when you.
And because aesthetics are aesthetics, regardless of race. That beauty is there, and I wanted to dedicate myself to progenerating beauty. That's kind of what I am. Like, I'm really like, I'll tell you, like, the way I see myself, Jake, I see myself as a servant. I see myself as a servant who has a noble cause, which is trying to restore beauty. Yeah, that's kind of how I see myself.
We need that in this country and in the West overall, because the beauty's dying.
Yeah, that's anchored towards this. We're talking earlier about what I'm trying to spread as a spirit. That's anchored towards this fatherly love. I'm trying to spread that because ultimately, you know, when Andrew Tate talks about the Matrix? Yeah. The Matrix is actually the matriarchy. If you look at it aesthetically, it's a gynocentric culture that is against any masculinity that's being upright. That's why everyone gets banned. So I kind of think, okay, wouldn't the answer be the corollary? Wouldn't it be like honorable patriarchy, getting into positions of power, you know, and allocating the resources? So I'm trying to bring that, but I'm really trying to remind people that you cannot just be a badass savage. You also need to know why you're fighting. And I've often said that if you see a warrior fighting a dragon, well, the warrior is standing in between something he regards as pure and sacred. And often, what is the point of fighting? What is the point of being so competent if you don't have that? Yeah. So we need to work on the love game too. And that's the disconnect today, because there's so much vitriol. It's making people just want to go to war for its own sake. I'm like, where's the love? Where's the kindness? You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm like, you guys are missing out on the big picture.
Yeah, politics overall is just pushing hate, and divide. Yeah. It's like both sides. And I have so many friends that are liberal, conservative.
It's insecurity.
Surprisingly, I've never lost any friends over this, despite, you know, living in liberal cities, being conservative. You know, Trump, in 2016, I voted for Trump when everyone was like, well, Trump supporters. And I never lost my liberal friends, conservative friends, you know, my Jewish friends over some of the current things I'm saying. Yeah. I guess because I surround myself with real people. I think that's important.
I think people reward authenticity. And you are, you know, you're you know, as real as they come. So even if they disagree, if people can feel that you're being real, they will still respect you.
Yeah, I think that's why when everyone was like freaking out,
unless they're freaks.
Yeah, like Samson, everyone's freaking out over Trump and stuff, and I'm like, well, I voted for him, and I never got any hate for it, and they were like, kind of surprising. I think for me, I get kind of a pass. I mean, I guess I'm high status also, which is kind of an unfair advantage. But.
And also, it doesn't hurt that you can bludgeon them.
And that actually is an excellent point.
No, you know, because here's the thing, like, my perspective on politics and how this power should be acquisitioned, like, I don't pretend like, ultimately, this may not be a moral statement, but the philosophy, we have to understand what power is. Power is always going to be there as a vacuum. And the problem with conservatives is that they don't want to engage in the politics of it. So their philosophy is, this is why we're not conservatives, right? Yeah. They believe tabula rasa. In other words, just give it back to the free market and these typical conservative talking points. And the will of the people will make it justified in its right place. Well, if you do that, then you're leaving it empty, and then the Talmudic people will use the useful idiots on the left and use all that, and they'll have all the power. So there's a vacuum of power. So now I'm at this point where I'm like, okay, if that's the nature of power, then we need to have people who are righteous, Christian, masculine taking those positions. Yeah, that's actually what matters.
Yeah, the leftists came in and they've hijacked culture. You know, they're coming in with the Hollywood, the music industry. They've hijacked it. Even like the Church of Satan. He's, you know, another Babylonian who came in and tried to hijack and go in to infiltrate Hollywood. This is well known. It's like these people, they come in and they hijack culture and they push ugliness. And it's like, we need to take culture back.
And what you just said, you're implying one of the reels I got nuked for, which is, you know, people don't even understand the Church of Satanism. That's controlled op. They want you to think Satanism is about red horns, a pitchfork, this LARP character. Anton LaVey's real name was Howard Stanton LaVey, and the Satanic Bible was written by Asaph Dayan, which is the son of Moshe Dayan, who basically founded the IDF.
Yeah, he helped. He ran weapons and sent weapons to Israel as he was infiltrating Hollywood to push Satanism.
This is how ahead they are than us. They think about utilizing their creative class. Like, we don't do this. Like, here's an artist. Here's a bunch of artists I know.
Yeah.
We don't try to utilize our creative class to normalize values in a positive direction.
Mm-hmm.
They're so ahead of the mark that they produce controlled opposition Satanism.
Mm-hmm.
So that instead of looking at Talmudic Satanism, which is really what Satanism is a stepping stone towards if you look deeply enough, they just want us to look at
The horns,
Anton LaVey, Satanism, LARPing, a bunch of these dysgenic losers or incels getting together and LARPing and like, yeah, down with Christianity. And then all the boomer types get offended. Actually, that's a distraction while the actual degeneracy and the normalization of evil is happening through these Talmudic folk.
But no, I do think it's interesting that at the same time, he's trying to create Israel, and he's also pushing Satanism at the exact same time, the exact same guy.
They know what they're doing.
But it's also, you look at like some of their, like, they believe in their gods. You look at Epstein Island, for example. You see that giant, he had that temple built there. You look at like
blue and white,
the burning of Moloch at, what's that place called that Alex Jones called?
Yeah.
Like, these are the most elite people around the world. They believe in this stuff. We cannot believe in it, but they believe in their demon gods.
Yeah, ultimately, the world is run by satanic pedophiles who lean towards a certain faith and doctrine. We'll keep it genial.
Yeah, right. And you look, I used to think, the satanic thing's insane. But then I started looking at a bunch of different cases. It sounds so, I'm not even going to say what they're doing. It's so absurd and so ridiculous, but they all tell the exact same story. All these kids that say they're in the cults. I'm not saying it was true. It just sounds so absurd that it can't be true. But the stories are all almost identical. And that kind of started creeping me out.
Well, look, I don't want you to get kicked off even Rumble here, but
we can always cut little pieces out if need be.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you can say whatever.
People, it's just so crazy, but the elite, they're having like baby torture camps and drinking their blood, and people don't even understand that they get these voluntarily harvested and donated to them through a lot of these organ donor operations through these hospitals. Like, they're doing a lot of. And most people have no idea how deep this rabbit hole goes. And, if a person talks in this manner, they're going to think I'm talking about gay frogs. But
it turned out the frogs were gay, though, by the way.
It turned out the frogs were gay.
He was right about that.
Yeah,
I remember I went down, I thought it was insane, Pizzagate, and I went down like a 2-day rabbit hole on that. And then I had to just stop because obviously there's some bullshit in there, but there is some dark stuff when you start like actually.
And a good rabbit hole for Pizzagate is just looking at all the artists.
Yeah.
Kim Noble literally makes, like, you guys can look up as I'm saying this, Kim Noble makes silhouette paintings of kids being raped.
It's sick, yeah, like the Podesta,
Patricia Piccinini,
art,
total insane. Transhumanism. All of this, yeah, it's all, why are these artists getting world tours? Why are these artists being given millions of dollars?
Like the Podesta, he had art of like kids that were like tied up, like they were about to get killed or raped or tortured, looking scared. It's like, how is this? That's not art. That's just pure evil. And this is real. People can look this stuff up and see it. And the Instagram posts of some of these guys, the stuff they were posting about children and with kids, it's just, if you go down that rabbit hole, there's some dark stuff there. I'm not going to say exactly, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions or say my opinions, but there's some dark shit there.
And there's a reason why they always target kids. Because at like bare bottom low metric, what makes a man, at the lowest common denominator is, are you going to protect kids? Like, that's like the bare bottom level thing. That's why even pedophiles in prison get raped and their ass kicked. They get killed.
Kill the pedophiles.
Because that's like the lowest common denominator. Lowest. Now with them, if you're willing to do that, means you'll do anything. So it's absolute compromised position. This is why honeypots exist.
Someone doing that, then they completely own you.
And this is why it's going to come back to the philosophical point that I mentioned earlier, this idea of aesthetic relativism. Well, relativism in general versus universal standards. Well, now we're getting to the point that's a little bit more dicey, now that we're in the second hour here.
That's all right, we can get dicey.
This is what I've been fighting for with the cross. But most people are so brainwashed, they're so slave-minded by mainstream media, social media, this crazy, like, constant pornographic content, that they're not going to even look at the scales of their eyes and see beauty anymore. There's no appreciation of beauty.
No, there's not. You hardly ever see beauty. It's just ugly.
I feel like when I talk, people look at me like I'm like a boomer because I'm talking about beauty, and they go, no, that's not scintillating. I'm like, you're cooked.
It's crazy, yeah. They said they'll go to Momo. It was so interesting, though. I had no idea the CIA was behind pushing that modern art, but it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah, Andy Warhol, Basquiat, all of these guys.
I never, like Andy Warhol, I'm like, really? I never, like, people act like that's, how can people pretend that's art? People will pretend like, for example, people will pretend something because other people are pretending it. Kind of like the whole, people are pretending like, that's finally breaking through. Everyone was pretending like the things with normal and kids. And I refused, it was like controversial a few years ago. Literally no one was saying it. And I was one of the only people that was like, no, this is insanity. I'm not going to play along with this. How
crazy was it that was, you were getting reprimanded for saying that?
It was so controversial a few years ago. Like, like people were just but then they secretly everyone would be telling me they agree, but they'd be scared to like my posts. Like it was like, oh, I wish I could like your. There's grown men telling me I wish I could like your post. I'm like, you're a grown man and you're telling me you can't like my tweet?
Yeah. I mean, there's all of this is just insulting our morality, and you know, Andy Warhol, all these artists, you got to
I
understand.
find them really insulting, and they try passing that off as art to me. Like, how can that?
Yeah. I mean,
insulting.
art literally is supposed to be about what does our culture represent? What do we want people to remember us by? And what represents my values? Like, whenever I get a commission, a person tells me this is what is meaningful to me. Like, I talk to the person for like an hour usually. I need to know what is important to you.
Why they're buying it.
And because I'm going to spend several months on this. It needs to be really reflective of who you are. And I want it to be cohesive glue for your family. When you're at a dinner table, you guys are eating, once in a while your kid's just going to be looking at whatever beauty is there and looking at the actual three-dimensionality come out. It's like statuesque a little bit, the way I paint. And they're just going to be lost in a good way. And today, all these types of artists that are being pushed, I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but it's just antithetical to anything righteous, man.
And that's why art's losing popularity, because you go to a place like that and you're like, art's a joke. But then you look back through old art and it's like amazing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would say if you go to any gallery, there's a distinction between galleries and museums. Galleries like alive today artists, living artists. Museums are more in the past history. Anybody who actually wants to experience real museums, you need to not only go into the museum, you need to go to specific sections because so much of it is compromised and full of garbage.
That's true. Sometimes you go to even like old museums and a lot of it's garbage. That's true.
Yeah, you got to pretty much, in America, I guess for Americans listening, I guess you have the Met. And you go to certain sections.
That's the one in New York, right?
Yeah.
Which is massive. So it's like...
It's massive, but you'll see like statues of Hercules. And people think it's like the size of a human. No, it's like his foot is like that big.
No,
and you're looking at it, you're like, you feel like because it's so well done, you actually, and it's like in real person, it's not on the screen.
Yeah.
It feels like a Goliath is looking at you.
No, I remember
and you're just like, Mom, you're like,
being like, whoa,
dang.
this is so cool.
Yeah, there's like that level of art where you feel like, what do they call it? Piloerection, where the hair on the back of your neck goes up because you're getting chills.
You feel
When you go to see the art that our ancestors did,
it moves you, like you said. You feel something.
You forget about it. It sort of connects you to why we're fighting. You know, we need to fight for something beyond materiality. And actually, I've thought about this. What do these warmongers, Zionists that Trump just put all into his cabinet, all of these people, I've thought about this yesterday. They actually have all the money in the world. So what are they fighting for? I don't think it's money. They believe in something. Yeah, well, we need to kind of take a page out of their book. We need to also fight for something beyond materiality, because of course we got to make that as well. But honestly, you know, they want to build a third temple in Jerusalem, and they want to make it to Agenda 2030. This is a galactic thing for them. I think it's beyond money. I really do.
Yeah, it's power or something evil, or it's not just money. They're addicted to something else.
Yeah, everyone should fight for something beyond short-term material gain. Everyone should flourish. Of course, we got to live, but there has to be something that they're actually walking towards. They want to what is the light you're actually walking towards? And this is my whole problem with conservative ink.
No, the same. That's why I've been
all those people repeating the conservative talking points, or it's like the Charlie Kirks.
Oh God, so embarrassing.
The Daily Wires, they're all claptrap, same thing, different packages. There's a black version, there's an Asian version, there's the Hispanic version, and they're all saying the same thing, and it's just keeping us into that psyop.
But 100% of them support. As soon as you go off that, 100%. You're fired, like Candace Owens. That's the one thing they all have in common. You have to support Israel. You don't have to support Britain or other ally, or France or other ally, but you have to support Israel. It's a little bit strange.
Yeah, maybe we're colonized.
Seems that way. Did you have a favorite artist or not really? Both past and current.
So I'll tell you that there's
yourself for current probably, but
my favorite. I have two artists that are my favorite. One of my favorite artists is a guy named Gustave Doré, and Gustave Doré, magnanimous. He's made amazing masterpieces of David holding Goliath's head. Speaking of soft, weak Christians, all of these Zionist Christians in these Protestant churches, they need to study some Gustave Doré. It was all base, bloody, badass from older time, like medieval time, gangster biblical scenes, and it's crazy. It's like angels coming down to war to destroy demons, crazy stuff. I love his art, and as a person, his art not so relatable as mine as a theme, but I some of my friends, this sounds so egocentricity, but I'm just saying what my friend said, so pardon the tone. But some of my friends would be like, you're like the modern Caravaggio, because Caravaggio not only made fire, he constantly publicly offended the elite, and he kept getting reprimanded. And I felt like I'm kind of him because I make fire and I keep getting censored.
I mean, artists should be pushing boundaries, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's this notion of a dissident artist, right? There's this theme, like, I guess a very good pop culture version for Americans to understand is like punk rock.
Yeah.
Back then, if you were in New York and you had the metal leather jacket on with the metal spikes, the older generation or the squares would throw soda cans at your feet and tell you to why do you have a mohawk? They'd insult you. Today, unapologetically Christian at a lower level than MAGA hats, you walk around in public with that, you can get attacked. You never know.
Yeah, especially a few years ago. Speaking of the punk rockers, they turned into such jokes. They were all pushing not all, but the vast majority of them were pushing the vaccine. And
it's all flipped, brother.
They just flip. Like, you guys are pathetic.
So today,
so sad to see that, guys.
Today, the counterculture dissident artists, they believe in God. They're like, it's so crazy that the new counterculture are like based Christian men.
Yeah, it's like the rejection from atheism and materialism and all that.
I mean, look at the Groypers. Is there anything more counterculture than that?
Not really.
Yeah, I mean, Nick is there's nothing more counterculture today. And again, this is kind of giving like a semblance to the alt-right.
Yeah.
During that peak, that golden era, which is so fun. But I think the only thing that's really lasted are some movements like America First.
Yeah, it's still a dissident movement that actually has some organization.
Yeah, so dissident artistry is going to be aligned with probably the only dissident movement. And yeah, that's why I like that audience, But
I get along with them great. I know a lot of people don't, and Nick's always feuding, but I've never had any issues with them. And the Groper, same thing. Never had any trouble with them.
They're just real people. But there's just not a lot of people.
They're super loyal to Nick, though. So if they get someone on his bad side, they go after you. So they're definitely loyal.
I'm pretty loyal to Nick too, man.
No, he's
and Nick doesn't even know me, but like he doesn't know me. But I've seen him be consistent about his beliefs, and I do genuinely believe if he was on a pathway to like truly hedonistically check out, like people say they'll do so until they actually have the option in front of his face. Yeah. I would think he would never take it.
He could make a lot of money if he wanted, but he chose the path of, speaking truth.
Yeah.
He could be, I bet they'd be offering a lot of money if he
and also the fact that they're all afraid to have him on tells me everything, right? Because like the people who have made my personal life suffer are also against him. So it's one of those things. I'm not saying an enemy of enemies, my friend, because he's not my enemy. But my point is that
some of my friends don't get along with him, but it's never caused any issues between me and him.
Yeah, this is we got to talk about the infighting too. We're not going to name anyone right now, but I have a problem with the infighting because I've always said we are all in a car driving 100 miles per hour towards a brick wall, and we're all arguing about the seating arrangement.
Yeah. No, yeah, for me, I hop between lots of different groups and friends, lots of people, and I can't be involved in everyone's internet beef. And I get people trying to get me to take sides, and it's like, no, I'm staying out of your beef. I know lots of people. I still need to make money. I still need to have friends. That's between you guys. Yeah,
again, I see people, like, there's sides that are, like, grandstanding against each other, and I'm like, I see the use in both, and I think the voices can be echoed stronger, but what are you going to do? But I just wish people can understand that anytime there's this crazy fighting on, there are Babylonian Talmudic followers very happy when they see that. Just so you know, anytime you see crazy infighting and the avoidance of potential alliances, as a protocols and the elders of Zion specifically, right, which is what they want, they are very happy people behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm always trying to unite different groups. That's what I always try to do.
Yeah, me too. Because I honestly also believe at a technical level, there's no other way right now.
No, we need to unite.
Yeah, there's no other option. You can keep fighting. You can do multiple civil wars and keep losing. I guess it's up to you.
Yeah. Any other subjects you want to hit before we wrap up? Or
no, I just want to say thank you for being a real one, brother, and I appreciate you having me on. And we just gotta stand up for what's right.
Yeah, no, definitely having you back. Great conversation. And what was your art gallery one more time? And
my website is arthurkwonlee.com. You can buy my prints. You can collect my original art. Put some beauty on those walls. It is an absolute waste. Like, empty walls are such a waste. And it'll change your worldview.
Yeah, like the people that don't have a ton of money buy the prints. Exactly. Keep it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the art is at a higher price point because there's certain artists, their style is splashing a little bit of paint. With what I do, now, so I'm going to tell you a really quick funny story. I met with one of the top Babylonian gallery artists once because she was a nice enough girl. And she said, Arthur, I do really respect your art, but what do you think of my art? And this is going to sound harsh, but I'm just being honest. To co-sign myself, I said, I could master what you do in a day, and I can give you a year to try to do what I do, and you wouldn't take that bet. Would you take that bet?
Me? Definitely not.
and she was speechless. She was speechless because there's technical proficiency in anything that you dedicate yourself to, whether you're a fighter or whether you're an artist.
Yeah.
So, and you can find me also at Bad AZN. I'm the Bad Asian. Unless they ban me again. If they ban me again, Jake will let you know where to follow me.
Where to find you. Yeah. So, hey, man, thanks a lot for coming.
I appreciate you, brother. God bless you, man.
Good one.
Yeah.
Peace.